In the 1920s, there was a notion that the United States had entered what they called a new era of economic development, that the old rules of what went up would eventually come down, that those old rules no longer applied. They bought homes, they bought cars, and especially they bought stocks, in large part on the basis of borrowed money.
But the good times wouldn't last. October 24th, 1929, Black Thursday. The stock market crashed and continued to go down. Within a week, total market value had dropped $30 billion, roughly 10 times the amount of the federal budget. The result? Panic. President Herbert Hoover tried to calm things down, calling the collapse a passing incident in our national lives. He said things would be back to normal in just 60 days. But by then, the U.S. Depression had spread around the world.
As banks collapsed, and as the pain spread to the larger economy, thousands, then hundreds of thousands, then millions of people were laid off. Many of them lost their homes. They hit the road. They established squatter towns. These were tent villages where people lived underneath bridges by the sides of roads. They acquired the derisive name Hooverville in scorn of President Hoover.
Then in 1932, Hoover lost his re-election bid. The new president, Franklin D. Roosevelt.
By the beginning of 1933, when Franklin Roosevelt took office, the banking system of the United States was essentially paralyzed. The unemployment rate hit 25%. People were going hungry. The country was in a depression, but it was also in despair.
Roosevelt's solution? An aggressive public works policy nicknamed the New Deal.
The New Deal brought down the unemployment rate a little bit. It offered hope to those people who remained unemployed. It provided incomes for some people who didn't have incomes otherwise. It didn't make a serious dent in the Depression itself, but it did alleviate most of the despair that the Depression had engendered.
With a bit of hope, Americans weathered the economic storm, and by the end of the decade, real relief was on the way as American industry geared up for World War II.